Well, did you see this last night? During the Grand Slam of darts, Barry van Peer suffered what is known within the sport as Dartitis. He found it difficult to actually let go of the darts at the Ocky, and it was really difficult viewing as well in Wolverhampton last night. For more on this, we can speak live now to Dr Linda Duffy, who is a sports psychologist. She joins us down the line right now. Linda, many thanks for coming on. As I said there, it was really difficult to watch Van Peer. They're suffering with this condition known within the sport as Dartitis. Can you tell us a bit more about the condition, please?
Yeah, Dartitis is it's a psychological disorder that, in the absence of any physical trauma, manifests itself in a catastrophic breakdown, really, of the movement required to throw a dart consistently. And usually this throwing movement is a well-rehearsed, well-practiced skill.
You've actually worked with him, haven't you? What techniques have you used to help him overcome that issue?
Well, I haven't actually worked with Barry. I've spoken with him about his condition. I see him quite often on the development tour where the youngsters come through. I've worked with many other players, and it's like any other psychological disorder. It's very different, and it's varied. You know, it has sometimes a gradual onset, sometimes a really quick onset, and it shows itself in different ways. I mean, as we saw with Barry, he still managed to win one of his matches, and you know, he showed excellent resolve coming through that. So it's something that you can actually work with, and you learn to throw with the condition. But you're never really 100% the same player again once you get this.
No, indeed. We can hear there in the background that the crowd actually started to chant his name and support Van Peer, which was nice to see. But, you know, you've said he could potentially never be the same kind of player again. Is it possible to fully overcome something like this, or is it once it's there to stay?
Well, I sort of tend to use an analogy of if you walk with a limp, you can manage to walk, but the limp is always there. If you have a tooth crowned, it's never quite the same as your real tooth, but you can function quite well with it. And that's the same as Dartitis. You can rebuild your throw, rebuild your mentality, and you can learn to play with it. And, a very high-profile player, Eric Bristow, actually played with Dartitis and won major tournaments.
Yeah, indeed he did, didn't he? He spoke about it widely, didn't he, at the time? You, of course, are former women's world #1 as well. I mean, you spoke about Eric Bristow there, but I mean, is this Dartitis a common problem, do you think, throughout the sport?
It is. Of course, we only really hear about the high-profile cases. But it is common. I mean, and it is as important to your local, pub player or, a good level amateur player. They can be affected as well. The one thing I will say about it is that the higher the level of skill, i.e. if you're an elite player and you get the condition, you're more likely to be able to make a recovery because you have banks and banks, hours and hours of practice and rehearsing the skill. You've done that several times. So when you draw upon that experience and a practice bank, if you like, it helps you recover.
Is it more prevalent in older players? Just look at Van Peer's very young, isn't he? Is it quite surprising to see it in a young player, or does it not make any difference? I know certainly talking of Eric Bristow, it was more in the latter years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think, it can hit at any time. I think the reason we're seeing it in younger players now is because the younger players now are becoming more high profile with the development tour, with the Youth World Championships, with all the work that the PDC are doing with the, junior academies, etc. Young players are becoming quite high profile. Some of them are household names already, and they're not even, 24, 25, barely out of nappies.
Yeah. What advice do you give them then to overcome this? I mean, what would be your advice, and what are you saying to Barry van Peer finally?
Well, I mean, the research that we've done, and we've been researching this now for almost 10 years, and I have PhD students working, today on this disorder. I would say that we know that it's linked to level of skill. We know that it's linked to something that we call locus of control. So it's how a dart player feels about, their own control over a situation. And we know it's linked to self-confidence, all those things. So, you know, you have to try and rebuild those psychological constructs. So, you know, you start from the very basics of rebuilding the throw, getting the confidence to actually throw and release the dart. But mainly the mental side is getting players to look differently at what they're doing.
Well, Dr Duffy, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on today and shed some light on this, this condition that obviously, as laymen, we don't know much about. So thank you very much.
Thank you for asking me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.